Hello, this is Joe Neville and welcome to Python and REST APIs. So in this short video I'm going to be showing you how to build a working environment so that you can use Python to interact with REST APIs. And in later videos I'm going to be showing you how to configure Aruba OS switches via their REST API. But first of all you need to install these tools. To build the work environment you're going to need a machine of some kind. That can be Windows, Linux or Mac. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to install the tools onto Windows because that is a bit more complex. Linux and Mac are a bit easier with Python. You're going to need a copy of Python, obviously. You'll also need some kind of editor for your code. I'm going to be using Pycharm. Popular alternatives are Atom or Sublime Text. So this is just an environment that you can use to write out your code, and they come with the benefit of prompts and shortcuts to make editing Python a lot easier for you. And finally, you're going to need a REST client of some kind, which makes your life a lot easier when interacting with REST API. I've opted for Postman by Google. Before I start with the installs, a quick word about Python 3 versus Python 2. If you're new to Python, you may be a bit confused about whether you should be using Python 2 or Python 3. Now, Python 2, if you're not aware, is the previous version of Python, which actually has an end-of-life date planned for 2020. Now the thing is that most production applications actually use Python 2. They use Python 2.7. So you'll see a lot of popularity around that, and if you go onto a Linux box and you type in Python, you actually go into Python 2 by default. So you may think that Python 2 is the way to go. But actually, if you're new to Python, you're probably better off just starting with Python 3. And that's what I'm going to be using. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install Python 3. The main thing is don't be put off by this decision, and though Python 2 and Python 3 are not 100% compatible, they're very similar in look and feel, and as someone that's picked up Python in the last few years, I would just recommend going with Python 3. Okay, so let's get on with the installs. Now this is a new Windows 10 virtual machine. And the thing with Windows as opposed to Linux or Mac is that Python is not installed by default, so you need to run that install first. If I open up PowerShell and I'll just type in Python, you can see that nothing happens. Okay, so what we need to do is go to Python. If in Windows 10 you can just type in here. Just use your browser to search for Python. Go to www.python.org. Go to the Downloads tab there. Like a lot of modern sites, it detects our operating system, and there you can see the button to download Python 3.6. So just hit that and your download will start. I've already downloaded it, so the next step is to grab your code editor that you're going to use. I'm going to be using Pycharm. So I'll just do a search for that, and Pycharm's made by this company called JetBrains. We'll go to the official site. Here's the download. Again, it's detected that I'm on Windows. If you're on Linux or Mac, you hit those buttons there. And the free version is this Pycharm CE. So it's the Community Edition, which has got a few less features than the Professional Edition, but it's got the plus of being free to download. So you hit that button to download it, and it should start downloading. I've already downloaded that to save time. And the final thing is that we want Postman. So if you do a search, it's the top hit. Get Postman there. Hit that and do the download. I need X32. Again, I've already done the download. So that's the three things you need. You need Python, you need your code editor, whichever one you decide on, and you need a REST client. We're going for Postman. I'll open up my downloads. There you can see I've got my Python. Right, so let's start with the Python install. Get rid of that. Double click here to run. And I found with Windows 10 that ticking this box to add Python to the path was a good shortcut. Hit yes, and it will go through and install Python 3.6 for me. Okay, that took a few minutes, so I've just skipped ahead. It says there setup was successful. I'll close that down and I will reboot this machine. Okay, we are back after the reboot. Now, if I go to PowerShell, type in Python, there we go. We're straight into Python 3.6. And there's a hello world in Python 3.6. Okay, great. So we've got that. Next up is Pycharm. Just run the install for that. For me, I'm going to hit the 32-bit launcher as well. Leave everything else as default and let that install. Okay, that took a few minutes, so I've jumped ahead again. Tick that box to run Pycharm. I think also, yeah, you can see because I hit the launcher, it's added this to my desktop. So I can double click that to launch Pycharm in the future. Here we are. Okay, so it's talking about importing. If you're coming from a previous version, if you're new to it, you just click OK on the default there and it will start up. Just OK there. That's about the themes. And with Pycharm, what you do is you create projects, and projects will have your Python files within them. So I'll hit create a new project. I'll just create one there in the Joe folder, new project, create. And here we are. So that's the project. It actually will create a folder. If you right click on there and say new, we can create a Python file. There you can see within the Joe folder there is this new folder, new project, which Pycharm has created. And you can see my hello.py, so py being the Python extension. And we can run that Python program by just putting in Python hello.py. So there we go, hello world. And it's in Pycharm that in my next videos, I'm going to be showing you how to interact with the REST API. And it's this environment which has some great things like prompts and hints, which really help you when writing code. Okay, finally then, the REST API client, Postman. Let's go back to my downloads. There we are. There's Postman. Double click on there and run that install. As mentioned, Postman was previously available as an extension to the Google Chrome browser, but one of the things that we're going to be doing with the API is we will need the Postman interceptor, which used to be a separate install. Now, the good thing about the application is that it has the interceptor within it, so we don't need to do anything other than install this application and we're ready to go. So this is Postman, and one of the great things about this is that it is an application that makes it a lot easier to interact and interrogate REST APIs. There's lots of tools here. It's essentially like training wheels for you when you're interrogating a REST API. There's lots of things to help you out and shortcuts, etc., which I'll be showing you in subsequent videos. And basically what we do is, first of all, we work out in Postman what we need to do to interact with the API. Then we will turn that into code that we'll put into Pycharm, and then we will fire at our REST API. But for now, that's all we need. So we've got Python, we've got our code editor, Pycharm, and we've got our REST API client. And the great thing is this is all free. You can just download it onto your operating system of choice. Now that's Windows, which, as I mentioned, is a bit more involved. Personally, I prefer to use Linux, so what I do is, because I need to use a Windows machine for work, I run a lot of my coding and my development actually within a Linux VM running on VirtualBox. So I will show you that now. So this is a Fedora 25 box. There's the details, Fedora 25, and previously I was using Ubuntu a lot, but I decided I would start playing around with Fedora, and so far I'm very much enjoying it. Now, what I have here, as you can see, I've already got Pycharm Community Edition installed. Very easy to install it onto Linux. Postman, again, the same, very easy to install. You just download it and run the installation, very much like Windows. And the great thing about Linux is that you do not need to do the Python install. So you've already got Python installed on the operating system as a default. Here's a terminal. If I enter Python, you can see I'm into Python. Now, you should be aware, though, that this is Python 2.7. I prefer to write in Python 3, so what I need to do is just put in Python 3 and I will be into Python. Other than that, the steps are very similar to what I've already shown you, so I won't go over those again. Okay, so it was as easy as that to create a Python work environment that we can now use to write Python and to interrogate REST APIs, which I will be doing in later videos. So please do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and goodbye.